technical evaluation interview methods like live coding, pairing assignments have you found to be the most inclusive? Um,
I can take a first stab at that one. I can't say I know the answer to it, but there are some. I think there are some truths in there. So the more personal and the less impersonal that evaluation is, the better. And so, as an extreme example of something that I have seen to not work well, there are startups out there that you can outsource technical interviews to, and they're really good, right? Like they hold their interviewers to a high bar, they're really consistent. But a lot of times, if the first part of your process is you send a candidate off to another company to do an interview with someone they don't know, who may not embody your culture or your values or whatever, we've seen that be actually really bad for drop off, for underrepresented groups. Um, and then you can kind of move along that spectrum. So something that might be a little less impersonal would be sending someone a coding assignment or something like that. Now that actually has a lot of advantages, right? People can work at their own pace. They're not like under pressure trying to code. But at the end of the day, really, it's less about which method you use, but and more about how that's implemented, right? So a live interview can be really impersonal and scary, and not like it can scare people away because then they're like, all right, if this is the culture of the companies, that really somewhere I want to work. But at the same time, a live interview can feel more like a pairing exercise, like, hey, we're working together on this problem. Let's think through it. Let's solve it together. And so my main takeaway would be it's more about like the how and less about the what. Though there are definitely what's or certain things that are really impersonal, and I try to avoid.
That's a really great point, Ozzy. So I often hear this from hiring managers as well, that they are more interested in the approach versus the candidate getting the right answer. Of course, there's some fundamentals that, apply. And so being really objective about those, and not expecting the right answer to a very vague question, or some of those brain teaser questions, because the idea is really to scope for, somebody's approach or process, and then ultimately, gauging whether the working style would be good if it is a live coding exercise. So it's an opportunity also to let the candidate know, we're doing it this way to give you the opportunity to see if this is the kind of environment that you would enjoy. And so taking a step to kind of, shift the power dynamic and make it a two-way street versus it being top down and very like pressure cooker. I think you want candidates to also perform, if not their best, perform at, an optimum level where they're able to actually like share their knowledge with you and are not overly concerned with, what you're thinking of them. And it's like a, um, something that I see with a lot of interviews. And yeah, I think one last thing I will say there is also communicating expectations in advance. So let's say that the recruiter screens a really great candidate, or just every candidate in general, make this a standard, outline what the process looks like, and make sure that for the assessment, there's, when you are administering it, there's not only a time duration for, we don't expect you to spend more than 2 days, and if you are getting them to do something that you plan to use, please pay them for that, especially if it's like, something that takes a lot of time beyond the 2-hour limit that I would say is probably like fair game for an unpaid assessment.